Welcome to One Girl in All the World, the Buffy the Vampire Slayer rewatch podcast where we recap each episode in order and discuss. I'm Ashley, Buffy superfan.
Kimmy, Buffy newbie.
You can find us on all major podcast apps, YouTube and Instagram with new episodes on Tuesdays. So, guess who's back? Back again.
Yes. As I predicted.
Yeah, I was like, oh my god, how did you guess that?
I just was like, I know he's going to have to come back eventually, and I don't think they're going to make him wait that long, although he left again, so I don't know. He was just a tease, apparently.
Yeah, who knows if we'll ever see him again. But, so we are talking about Episode 8, Lover's Walk. Lover's Walk originally aired November 24th, 1998, written by Dan Weber and directed by David Semel. And the synopsis is, just as Buffy enjoys a minute to revel in her SAT scores and ponder her bright future, the underworld version of Sid Vicious, Spike, returns to Sunnydale, a fallen man, a pathetic shell of his former self, who has been left in the dust by his love Drusilla, and is back to punish everyone who is to blame, especially Angel. Meanwhile, Willow prepares a delusting spell to keep her and Xander's hormones in check during a double bowling date with Cordelia and Oz.
There's a lot going on there.
Yeah, nobody is happy in this episode.
No.
Like, it's just heartache the whole time.
Yep.
Yeah, so we can start. We start at school, and everybody has their SAT scores back. If I remember last episode, everybody was getting ready.
Willow was upset, and she's talking about a 740, and then we realized she's referring to a 740 on her verbal score alone. Yeah. Which again, not an American. Well, I guess I am an American. I wasn't an American teenager in high school, and I didn't take an SAT, but that sounds like a very high score. Like the SATs are like, isn't like, what's the perfect score? 1600 or something?
I don't know.
Okay.
But Xander says, oh, okay, you're upset about that, but that's like all my scores combined aren't that high.
Yeah.
So obviously she did really good, but it was not up to Willow's standards.
Which is ridiculous.
Yeah, and she's freaking out. And he kind of tries to console her, and it gets a little touchy.
Yeah. Yeah. They're not being cool anymore.
It's a little touchy. And then of course they jump apart like they were doing something wrong, but they were doing something really wrong because Cordelia and Oz come up behind them and share their scores and stuff.
They need to get their shit together.
Yeah. So Cordelia did really well, so she does well on standardized testing. And Oz, I guess he didn't take him again because he just says, I know, Willow basically doesn't need to be worried about her scores, but he doesn't talk about his, even though we know that he does score really high. He's a very good tester. Yeah. And then Buffy comes up, and I like how Xander, she's a little shell-shocked.
Oh, yeah, and then everyone assumed she did bad. He made a joke about manning a drive-through side by side.
Yeah, he's like, how about you and me, Buffy? We're going to be manning the drive-through window side by side because everybody else did good, but not us. And then, of course, we're led to believe that Buffy didn't do well. Mm-hmm. And Buffy got a 1430.
That sounds very high.
Yeah, let's see. What is it? Let's see. What is a perfect?
I think a perfect score is 1600.
SAT perfect score. I meant to look this up. Yeah, 1600.
Yeah, so that's ridiculously high.
Yeah, really good. So and Oz knows all about this because he's Mr. Standardized Testing. He says, you can pretty much apply to anywhere. Yeah. With those kind of scores. Even though it's not just those scores, there's other stuff too.
Exactly. Extracurriculars
or her grades.
Yes.
Those are the heaviest weighted. Or and
the things that she didn't, she doesn't have other things really. She doesn't have really good grades. She doesn't have extracurriculars that people know about and that she can talk about.
No, getting those test scores will definitely give her way more options. I don't know if she can apply, I don't know if she can apply to Harvard with that.
No.
And her test scores are horrible. Her grades are horrible. But it's really widened her horizons with those test scores for sure. Buffy's I never really even thought about having a future. Didn't know if I'd be alive to have a future.
Yeah. So leaving Sunnydale, that's for sure.
Yeah, she doesn't know what to do with this information. And Cordelia says, yeah, now you can leave and never come back.
Cordelia is very excited about this.
Yeah, and who would come, what idiot would come back here if they didn't have to, right?
Yeah.
So let me go back to the Sunnydale side.
What kind of moron would come back? What kind of moron would ever want to come back? And then Spike drives through the home sweet home sign.
Yeah, just like we have seen in the past, he does the same entrance from the first time we saw him. Mm-hmm. But instead of triumphantly coming out of the car and being all macho, he falls out drunk and passes out.
And looks just sad.
Is a mess. He's a mess. So then we go to the credits, so we know Spike is back in town. Mm-hmm. And we go to the factory, which we can tell, obviously, is still a mess. Like it's still like in shambles from when Giles set it on fire and they had to move out to the mansion. So he's kind of walking around and he's singing My Way.
Creepy doll collection.
Yeah, there's some stuff left behind. Spike is drunk and sad and just like musing to himself about how we obviously can get the impression that Drew left him. Mm-hmm. And he's feeling really butthurt about it.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just kind of destroying things in there. He's really got a lot of emotions going on.
Yes.
So then we go to school in the hallway, and Cordelia and Xander are at her locker talking about having a double bowling date. I don't know why. Actually, when they were standing outside at school, it kind of came up. Like, they were going to celebrate their scores, and it kind of all ended up getting into a double date situation that I don't think anybody actually really wants to do but Oz. Like, he's probably the only one okay with it. But so it gets brought back up with Cordelia and Xander. They're going to go bowling. Everybody is agreed to it but Cordelia, so they're just, like, running the bowling idea by her. Xander sees there's pictures of, like, the group and, like, the two of them and Xander alone in her locker. And he's like, wow, I made it to the locker. So she's taking things serious. Remember, she's told Buffy that she's in love with him, but she has not said that to Xander.
No.
But he's locker material, so that's a big step for her. And then we see Oz gives Willow a gift, a witch Pez, which she, I think, compensates a little bit for how much she likes it.
Yeah, she does. I mean, it's a cute gift.
She's like, it's the sweetest thing anyone's ever done for me. I'm like, okay, you're just saying this because you're making out with your best friend.
Yep.
Okay, like she's overcompensating a bit. It's very sweet.
He's
very sweet.
Like, he says he really likes her, which is cute. And she should feel really horrible about what she's doing. So
when she leaves, she's like, oh God, like, this is getting bad.
Shit together, woman.
We go to the library, and Giles is very happy about Buffy's scores, just saying
remarkable.
That she's, this really gives her a lot of opportunity, and that he's going. She's sitting on the main library table, and it's covered in, like, camping stuff. And we find out that Giles is going to retreat.
And she says something like, you pack like I do. And he's like, these are just basic necessities.
Yeah. Yeah, he's only going, she's like, are you going to move there and start like grow crops? He's like, no, it's only for a few days. So he's got, like, everything under the sun. So he's leaving town for a few days to go on this retreat. And we don't really know if it's like a watcher thing. I'm guessing it is, but it doesn't really say.
I don't know what else it would be, but yeah, it's weird. And especially because it's, like, in town.
Yeah, it's just like
let's walk into the Hellmouth.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but he goes back to kind of saying back to her scores that, Buffy could possibly leave Sunnydale for college because Faith is around.
Well, yeah, he says, like, I think she was saying how Joyce is really happy about.
Yes,
like,
that's true.
College, and Giles agrees, and she says, be kind, rewind. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. It was funny because she's like, when she talks about her mom, she's like, her head pretty much turned around, like, did a circle and exploded or something. And Giles is like, you are, like, not meaning literally, right? I've been on the Hellmouth for too long. So she's like, whoa, like, everybody is, like, being really supportive of me leaving. Like, I don't understand, like, what's happening here. But, with Faith, it changes things. If Faith wasn't around, I don't think this conversation would be happening.
This would be a possibility.
Yeah, so Angel's gonna leave, and he tells her not to do anything rash. Like, and she says, "Are you gonna see Angel?" So they're treading carefully around this topic.
He's being very kind about it.
He is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Buffy says they're just friends.
They're just friends, but she is gonna see him, and that there's no reason to worry.
Right.
And then we go right directly to Willow and Xander talking, and Willow is worried that Oz and Cordelia are just going to, like, sense something's up, which they have in the past.
Bowling is sexy, sweaty. I was like...
The rented shoes.
Yeah.
Like, Xander's like, oh, those shoe rental turns you on. She's like, that's not the point. That was so funny. And then he's like, can I kiss your earlobe? Like,
yeah.
And she's like, yeah. I mean, no. Like, he's like, we have to do something about this.
Yep, it's ridiculous.
And he says, I wish I just wasn't so attracted to you. It's like, okay, you weren't like 3 weeks ago, but
exactly. And now you can't stop. I don't understand like why at this point, if they're just continuing, obviously. Like I was giving them the benefit of the doubt at first during the prom episode, but now I'm just like, okay, this is ridiculous. They should just break up with their partners and be together if that's what they want to do. Obviously they can't handle being together without these things. So then rip off the Band-Aid and go.
Yeah, and I don't like obviously it's not okay, but I can see Willow's always had feelings for Xander.
Yep.
But like where did Xander's feelings just come from out of like literally from 0 to 60?
Have you ever had that though? Or not like had that, but
someone I know my whole life and then one day I don't like them and the next day I do, like that?
Or like the opposite, where like someone your entire life you've had a huge crush on and then one day they wake up and realize you're kind of cute or whatever.
No.
Okay, I've definitely had that happen before. I was like ugly duckling in middle school, and then in high school I was like, I don't know, low key cute, I'd say. And yeah, like I swear, like one of the boys that I had the hugest crush on one day realized it. And I was like, well, that's too late, buddy.
I just think it's weird. Like they've been friends since like kindergarten.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like it's just, it's weird. Cause she's in like, I don't know. Anyway, Willow's like totally understand where her feelings are coming from because we've known like from like the first episode that she's had them. But Xander was very much like, didn't feel that way about her ever.
I mean, she's grown slightly out of her like little awkward teenage phase.
True.
Part of it. I mean, that is very what's the word? Superficial, but you know,
true.
Not superficial.
I mean, that's Xander, I guess.
Yeah, Xander is very superficial.
Yeah. And they just want to make it like make it go away. And then we go to Buffy's house and she is like college shopping. She's going through all these brochures.
Her mom's excited. Carnegie Mellon, Brown. She should have a good college experience with kegs and boys and not vampires and Hellmouth.
And Buffy says, I don't see the distinction. How about the vampires? That was a great line. I loved that. That would have been my favorite line, I think, if I didn't pick the one I picked. I don't see the distinction. She's like, just so excited for Buffy. I think there's even like more so because she knows about the whole Slayer thing. And Buffy's kind of like, wow, everyone's so happy for me. Like congratulations.
Kind of weird.
Go away.
Yeah, exactly.
And Trisha's like, well, there's nothing. What is there keeping you here? Like, there's
something about Faith could be the Miss Sunnydale in the Slayer pageant.
Yeah, like she's like, I talked to Mr. Giles. He said Faith can slay. You know, you can. This is your chance, basically.
Yeah. Like, what's keeping you here?
And we go to the mansion, and Angel is reading you probably could pronounce this better than me. Nausee, Nausee with the little over one of the E's.
Nausee. Nausee.
La Nausee. It's a 1938 novel by Jean-Paul Sartre, and it's basically about like a lonely man who is like isolated from society and stuff. So I feel like that's like Angel in this like situation. He only sees Buffy. Like he's very isolated and stuff right now. So I thought that was interesting.
I didn't catch that. Nice.
So he's reading and Spike is spying on him and kind of talking to himself, and he's blaming Angel for everything that went down.
He brainwashed Drusilla. That's the only reason Drusilla could be the way she is, obviously, with her cookie ass.
Yeah. So he wanders outside, trips and passes out because he's like, he's very drunk. He just passes out because he falls. And then in the morning, his hand is in a ray of sunlight and catches on fire. So he wakes up screaming, and he's trying to put out his flaming hand, and he manages to do that in like the little fountain that's there. And then he realizes like, oh God, it's sunlight, and he's like putting his little coat up over his duster over his head and like runs for cover.
He has to run to his car, his blacked out car.
Yeah, he gets in the car eventually, smoking, and he's fed up. This is like where he's like, okay, I have to do something. Like, this is pathetic. So, so he's going to come up with a plan. We go to a magic store, and Spike goes in, and he's looking for a revenge curse. He talks to the shopkeeper and says, I'm looking for something.
I called it an apothecary.
Yeah. Like, he's like something with like boils. Like, he wants to curse Angel. Yeah, he wants to curse Angel. That's what he's looking for.
Yeah.
And then Willow comes in, and Spike kind of is like, oop, I'm going to hide over here. Willow comes in. And Willow says that she's looking for... She lists the ingredients, and the shopkeeper, the like sales lady, says, "Oh, it's a love spell." She's like, "Well, no, I know how to do a love spell, but this is more of a delusting spell because they're similar."
Anti-love
And
spell.
yeah, Spike is listening to all this.
Yep.
It's listening. So the Willow gets all the ingredients and heads off because obviously she's going to do a delusting spell for her and Xander to get their feelings under control. And Spike kills the shopkeeper, saying he has like a better idea than looking for a curse.
Yeah, he sucks.
Yeah, he does not the best in this episode. Yeah, so we go to City Hall and we see Mayor Wilkins again.
Playing mini golf.
He's playing like putting. Yeah, he's playing like working on his putting game. And he's like, "Oh, I'd sell my soul for a good short game." He's like, "Oh, I guess it's too late." So obviously he's in deep with all kinds of evil, hellmouthy things. And what was the name of that dude? His little helper.
Mr. Trick?
No,
I don't remember.
That's there in that room.
I don't know.
Remember. He was the one that told him like his hands were dirty. Anyway, his city worker, they started talking about Spike. Hey, Spike's back in town. And they're like, "Oh yeah, I remember last year, like we didn't know what he was going to do." So obviously, like, you know, we're just coming into contact with the mayor and his minions and everything, but they've been around and they've had their eye on everything that's been happening.
And he doesn't seem too concerned.
No. And the guy says, "Oh, you know, maybe we should just put a committee on it. And we can take care of him." And he's like, "Yeah, that's fine." And he also said that because they found out that he killed the shopkeeper at the magic shop, and it said it was a hell of a time for the cops to cover it up. Right. Make it look like just like a regular murder instead of a vampire murder.
Yeah, and it was in broad daylight.
Yeah. So Spike's on their radar, and they just like need to take care of, like make sure he doesn't do anything that they don't want him to do. I don't think they want him to like stop killing people, but he's not on their like in their plan. He's not in their plan. Yeah. So at the mansion, Buffy talks to Angel about college, and he thinks that she should leave. She wants his advice. Mm-hmm. And he's like, "It's a great opportunity. I think you should leave."
Well, he says, "What's keeping her?"
Yeah. "What's keeping you here?" And she's kind of like...
She dodges the question, actually. She doesn't even really answer it. Yeah. She just kind of starts talking about Slayer duties, and yeah.
She obviously wants him to say...
"I'll stay."
Like... You like I mean like us is a reason to stay and this and that.
It shouldn't be a reason.
Yeah, and he just says, "I think it's really good you can get out of here, like away from like Hellmouth and everything." And then she says he's like, "Yeah, I think you should like leave and go to college
as your friend. I think you should."
Yeah. Go. And then she gets up to leave, and he's like, "Where are you going? You just got here." Like mixed signals much.
But she agrees with him because she's like, "Yeah, you're right. I have nothing keeping me here."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's like, "I gotta get home because now my mom knows about Slayer stuff. I can't just like stay out all night," because she knows like it's not just me hanging out at Willow's. Like my life's in danger every day. So and also important little detail that she tells Angel that Joyce does not know anything about him being back. That'll be important in a little bit.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So Joyce does not know about Angel coming back to life or anything.
Right. I forgot about that. You're right.
And then we go to the chem lab, and Xander finds Willow doing chemistry.
Sounds like church.
Quotes. Yeah.
Evil church.
Yeah. Air quotes. And Cordelia and Oz are going to meet them there in a little bit, but they're going to do this first. And then he finds a spell book, and he's like, "Oh my God, you're doing a spell."
And she lies, and she says it's going to help us with our exams. What?
You can't do magic on people without their consent.
No, that's not okay.
If he was like, "Yeah, let's do this," then sure, give it a go. But like, she's very new at this, and that's not okay to like do a spell on somebody without them even knowing. She wasn't going to tell him.
No, and well, he's all like, "Remember me and spells? Like, this isn't a good idea." Like like every time he's like involved in magic, it doesn't work out well for him.
Yeah. So yeah, he's not. They're kind of having a little bit of an argument about it, but they don't get very far.
Well, they decide not to do the spell. He said that she tricked him. So yeah, he got upset anyway. So
which is true.
She grabs him? Oh no. Spike grabs him.
Yeah, Spike comes in and knocks Xander out. Not Buffy. Willow tries to fight, and he like gets her too, so he's gonna he abducts them both. So they're at the factory. This is where he's taking them to the factory. And Xander is like completely unconscious. He has like a big like head wound. And Willow is down there, and Spike tells her that he wants her to do a love spell.
Yeah. Or he's going to kill her.
or he's gonna kill her. And then there's this really funny part where he just is like, Willow is his agony aunt. He's like, I saw she was making out with a chaos demon. Have you ever seen a chaos demon? They're just like antlers and pus and everything, and they're disgusting. He's like, and she would flirt. Like, he's just complaining about her, sitting there next to Willow. Willow's terrified. And he's like giving all his relationship woes. He's like, I'm not going to put up with this anymore. And she was like, fine. He says that Jewel says, we can still be friends. And he's just like, starts crying. And leaning on Willow's shoulder. And she's like, they're there. And like pats him.
Yeah. But then he smells her neck.
Ugh.
And then he's like, he wants her. So she stands up to him. I'm actually proud of her for doing this. She's like, no. Like,
yeah. And he also puts a broken bottle in her face. So he's going to shove this through her brain.
If you want me to help you with this thing, then you need to leave Xander alone. You need to not shove broken bottles in my face. Yep.
Yeah.
Having any kind of.
Yeah. He says like, oh, I haven't had a woman in weeks. If you don't count that shopkeeper, like, we know what he's talking about. Like, so, like, yeah, no, Spike. Obviously not a fan of Spike in this moment. Going to agree to, Willow looks at the stuff and says that she doesn't have the spell book and she doesn't have all the ingredients because Spike just like brought the stuff. He just like grabbed stuff. He doesn't know what he's doing. So to do it, he needs to go out and get the stuff.
She says it might take time, and he's like, oh, if at first you don't succeed, then I'll kill Xander.
And then you'll try again. Yeah. Because remember, she's new at this. So we go to the library, and Cordelia and Oz run in and like see that Buffy's working out. And they were like, obviously they had went to the lab to meet Willow and Xander, and they just found it trashed.
Yeah,
and Willow and Xander are gone.
Something happened. Yeah.
There's been a struggle. So they go in there, and Buffy's like, okay, you guys go get Giles. This is where he is at this retreat, like Baker's Woods or something. And then I'm gonna like see if maybe they haven't gotten far. So they like have a plan to try to find Willow and Xander. Buffy goes into the library to get weapons, and the phone rings. So she runs to the phone, and it's her mom wanting to talk about colleges again.
And she hears Spike in the background.
Spike in the background says, hello, Joyce. So Buffy drops the phone and like runs out.
Yep.
Runs out of the thing, yeah. And then we're in Buffy's kitchen. I love this. We're in the kitchen, and Spike is again complaining to Joyce about Drusilla. Like, very typical of like someone that's gone through a bad breakup. Anyone that will listen, he will tell the entire story to, and like how much he's been hurt and everything. So anyone that will listen, he will tell. And Joyce is offering him advice. She gives him hot chocolate, and he's so upset. And remember that Spike can just come in because he was invited in when he made the truce with Buffy. Oh, and like totally forgot that when Willow and Spike were talking, he said that Drusilla dumped him because of the truce with Buffy. That she said that he had gone soft. And he was saying, like, telling her that it didn't mean anything. I was thinking of you the whole time. But, like, Drusilla was not having that he had made a truce with Buffy.
Which is, I mean, like, I think that's stupid. Like, why is she so upset over that?
Because Buffy's a slayer, and he went on her side for momentarily. So yeah, that's an important like detail of like what happened with Drusilla. But yeah, so Joyce was saying, sometimes Spike, people's lives just go different ways, and she's just really trying to like give him some advice and like get him through his breakup. And he asks if she has any mini marshmallows for the hot chocolate. And she's like, I don't know, let me go check. So she goes to check. And Angel's walking by, looking in Buffy's windows, and sees Spike sitting there talking with Joyce, having a cuppa, and runs up to the door. The back door is open, and of course he gets stopped by the vampire force field because he was uninvited from the house, if we remember.
And then Joyce sees him, and she's like, "Get out of this house, or I'll stake you myself."
Yeah, she's freaking out. And the whole time, Angel is like, Spike, like, get out of there, like, I'm gonna kill you or whatever. And Spike is like making faces and everything behind Joyce's back. He's like, ooh. He's just being such an asshole. But funny. It's really funny. He's like just being complete jerk behind Joyce's back, teasing Angel.
Like, you can't trust me, you need to invite me in. Spike's like, if you touch her, I'll kill you. Or no, wait, yeah?
Angel, I think Angel says that.
Oh, yeah. And then Spike's like, you and what army? And then Buffy runs in.
Yeah, Buffy comes in and pins Spike to the table and invites Angel in.
And this is a lot for Mom.
Oh gosh, this is like definitely like another moment where Joyce is overwhelmed with the information that is coming at her.
That's a lot.
Yeah. So Buffy invites Angel and he comes in and he says, I have your friends, because she's about to stake him with like a wooden spoon. And he says that to stop her. And he says, I have you like the boy and the witch. And then she says about Willow. And then Joyce is like, Willow's a witch? And then she's like, Xander's a witch? Like, totally confused while the other three of them are trying to figure this situation out. Yeah. So Spike says, yeah, if you kill me, you'll never find them. Your friend is doing a spell for me. You can tag along if you want, but, you know, I'm safe until you find them because they're locked up and you'll never find them if you don't cooperate. So we go to the road where Oz and Cordelia are heading to get Giles. Mm-hmm. And Cordelia has all these like theories about what's happening to Xander, that like Colombian drug lords are like cutting off his ear or other parts. And Oz comes to like a really quick stop and he like sniffs the air and he says he can smell Willow.
He smells her fear, which is...
It says that she's scared. And Cordelia says, this is like really disturbing. He's like, I agree. Like, I'm not okay with that I can do this, but I know that they're in the area. So they start like prowling around where they had stopped. So the three of them, Spike, Angel, and Buffy, are heading to the magic shop, I assume. Spike has the spellbook in his hand because Willow had said that was where it was. It was at Buffy's. Right. So he's got the spellbook, so they're heading there. And Spike is sobering up. He's like got a hangover. He's like having a hard time physically. He's in pain. And Buffy, he says, oh, I wish I was dead. And Buffy says, if you close your eyes and wish real hard. But she stopped. She gets stopped by Angel. And Buffy's like, he probably just has them locked up in the factory. Exactly. Mike's like, how thick do you think I am? That's exactly what he did. He's like, that's not what I did. And immediately guessed, like immediately where they were. So they keep walking and they go by a park bench.
Oh God, yeah.
Where Spike has a memory of him and Drew killing a homeless man on the bench, and he's just
so romantic.
His whole heart's so broken.
Yeah, he's like, oh, he begged for mercy, which only made her bite harder. Buffy's like, I guess you had to be there.
Buffy and Angel are not impressed. He's like, why can't you guys just like understand what I'm going through? But they're not very sympathetic to his plight.
No.
They get into the magic shop and they're looking for ingredients, and they kind of like split up. And Angel starts insulting Drew. Because he says, yeah, like, why are you doing this for someone that doesn't even love you or like you? Like, she's pretty fickle.
He sucks.
And
like, or Spike had said earlier when they were in Brazil, like he was spoiling her and like
giving her beautiful dresses with beautiful girls in them.
Yeah, and she wasn't having it. So
Spike gets upset that Angel's talking about Drew this way, and basically has a meltdown. And just like, oh, like you guys are one to talk. Look at you guys. Last time I looked into you, you were gonna kill each other, and now you're making googly eyes at each other, saying you're just friends. Mm-hmm. And you're never going to be friends. And he basically goes on this whole like tirade about them like thinking they can be friends and they're always going to be in love with each other. And that the thing that they can actually think that they're going to be friends is like laughable.
Yeah, he says that he maybe loves bitch, but at least he's man enough to admit it, which is true, actually.
Yeah. And Spike is extreme. Like, we haven't seen it too much. We've seen it a little bit, but we will see it. Like, he is extremely emotionally aware. Like, of course they can't be friends. They're not friends. Like, everybody, like, he can
see people actually break up. It's the same thing. I mean, this happens a lot when people break up. They're like, it's hard to break up with somebody and you still want to be with that person, even though you know they're not the right person for you, but you're just used to them, like creatures of comfort type thing. So of course you try to be friends, but it's just, you can't be.
Yeah, and it's not like they like broke up. They didn't even want to break up. It was like a whole, it wasn't like they mutually decided to like break up or one of them dumped the other. It was like death. You know what I mean? Well, one killed the other, so I guess that's complicated. But yeah, so Spike is like, you're gonna judge me. Look at you two. You know? So at the factory, Xander wakes up and has like a pretty bad head wound, and like Willow has been trying to get out of the room that they're locked in for a while. And they're scared. They're like, if Spike doesn't come back, we could just gonna like die of hunger. We're just starve to death. If he does come back and I don't do the spell right, he's gonna kill us. Like,
we're gonna, exactly.
Our odds aren't good here. So Xander's kind of like, okay, well, let's kiss then. Because we're gonna die.
Exemption from impending death situation.
Yeah, because Willow's like, whoa, no, we can't. And then it's like, well, we're gonna die. So like, what's the point? Like, why would we not? And then we see that Oz and Cordelia have like made their way in there. I don't know how they got right by that bed and everything without anybody hearing them, because Willow's been trying to break out of this room from the stairs, but somehow Oz and Cordelia got right up to them and surprised them while they were kissing.
Yeah, and Cordelia does not take it well.
Yeah, Cordelia runs off, runs up the stairs, falls through the stairs. The stairs collapse because remember, like, the factory is like condemned basically, and impales herself. And this is actually something I never knew about this episode, but this is actually a real injury that that Charisma Carpenter had when she was a kid. She did fall and get impaled.
Oh
like she has like a pretty serious scar. Yeah, when she was like a young child.
Actually really hard to get impaled and not cause like serious injury.
Yeah, like it managed to just like not hit anything, I guess. But yeah, she has like and I don't remember if we see the scar later, like, and it probably is her real scar, I can't remember. But yeah, apparently this is like a real injury that she had gone through at one point. I think that'd be really triggering, like having to like act like you're doing it again, like relive it, yeah. Mm. But yeah, she's kind of just falls through and she's got a very serious injury. On the street, Spike, Buffy, and Angel are leaving with all their goodies, and they are stopped by a vampire group led by a vampire named Lenny.
Maybe.
Yeah. And, oh yeah, that's right. It would be the committee. I didn't even put those two together. Thank you. Keep me on the straight and narrow. And, so Spike says, they used to work for me when I was, when Spike had his minions in Sunnydale, but they're going to confront him now.
Yep.
They tell Buffy and Angel, this isn't about you guys. You guys can leave.
You guys want to go. Like,
you're free to go. And Spike's like, if I die, then you never find your friends. And she's like, oh, we're staying. Resign. We have to help. We have to keep this guy alive. So yeah, a big kind of brawl breaks out.
There are some unique kills. Buffy stakes 2 vampires with 1 broom. It's pretty impressive.
Yes, it's good. And eventually they kind of get back up into the shop. They have to go back into the shop. They have to retreat back into the shop.
And they try to barricade it.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't really work.
Yeah. So while they're in there, we go back to the factory, and Xander kind of like lowers himself down to Cordelia. Mm. Willow says that Oz went to get help, and I'm combining a little bit here because we go back and forth between the factory and the fight a little bit. She says that she can't see. She can't see Xander, even though she's like looking right at him.
Right.
And she like passes out or whatever, dies, loses consciousness.
Seems pretty dire.
Yeah. So at the shop, there's more fighting. They try to barricade the door. Angel gets it comes down, and Angel gets kind of falls underneath there. Like they're just trying to keep everything. But there are people coming in. The vampires come through the back door. They're fighting them. And more coming through the window. So they managed to dust the ones that got in through the back door. It's really funny when they're fighting and Lenny and Spike kind of face off.
Oh, yeah.
And he says, oh, yeah, we heard you went soft and all of this.
That's like baby food.
Like baby food. And Spike's like, hell no.
He's
You're
like,
not to say that.
Give baby a taste. Does baby like his supper? And just them.
And he's like, baby needs to take a nap. And he's like beating him. Does baby like the taste of this? Does baby like the taste of that? Spike's like, do not call me that. So he just wails on Lenny and kills him. So Angel and Buffy see a display of holy water. They tell Spike to duck, and they just start throwing the holy water, and it's starts bursting on all the vampires trying to get through the window, and they run off. So they're like, oh, everybody's recovering from this, and Spike is really happy now. That really was a pick me up for him.
He's getting himself back.
Yeah, he's like, I haven't had a spot of violence in so long. Spike really likes violence. He likes getting in fights. Yeah. And it just was a pick me up for him. And it kind of gave him some, like, confidence. Yeah, and it gave him some perspective and everything. So, and, like, we see that Buffy is, like, helping Angel up because Angel's, like, obviously not fighting at his full strength. And he's like, oh, yeah, you two, just friends. Like, great. He points that out again. But he says, oh, that was so fun. Like, this is great. You know, I've been going around about this all the wrong way. I just need to find Drusilla, tie her up, torture her until she likes me again.
That's so creepy.
Like, why not? Like, that's, I don't know. I feel like something that Drusilla might respond to because she's crazy. But yeah no. Not a good plan, Spike. But yeah, that's what he's going to do. And he leaves, like, with a renewed purpose.
Yeah. And he tells Buffy we're
oh yeah, your friends are at the factory.
He said, we saw the spell, your friends are at the factory.
Yeah, saw the spell. Like, don't forget about the spell. I don't need it anymore. So we go to a graveyard and there's a funeral happening, which we're like, oh shit, It's Cordelia's funeral. Mm-hmm. Did you think that Cordelia was dead?
I was a little surprised by the funeral, but I was like, I don't think they're going to kill her off though.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So we see that Willow and Buffy are just walking by a funeral, and they're saying that Cordelia is okay, that she's in the hospital. Nobody's been able to, like, see her because it was, like, a serious injury, and that Xander's going to try to go there today and talk to her. And Willow is just talking about how bad she feels, like, the guilt, and that Oz isn't talking to her. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Buffy's just trying to give her some advice, like, just give it time, grovel, like, hopefully you guys can get through this. Yeah, so Buffy's just trying to, you know, talk her through it. Not judging her either. Like, she's not scolding her, judging her. She's just trying to be there for her, which is nice. Mm-hmm. So we go to the hospital, and Cordelia is in the bed, not looking great. Xander comes in with flowers, saying that he couldn't see her till now, but he brought her flowers, and he wanted to, like, he kind of sits down and, like, kind of wants to, like, address it. And you can tell, like, Cordelia looks, like, devastated.
Yeah,
like,
she is.
So devastated.
She, like, I feel like we had this whole thing with her where she didn't really want to like him, and she eventually ended up liking him. And then they had all their insecurities throughout their whole relationship. But I think she finally was able to let her guard down with him, and she fell in love with him. And I think at one point she probably thought, like, this is the type of person that would never do anything like this to me. Yeah,
probably. I'm sure based on her past experience, like, Xander is, like, a really different guy.
Exactly. So she expected differently. She expected better from him.
Yeah. And Willow's her friend too.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So even if she probably wouldn't admit it in a court of law, she's like, she's not my friend. But, that's got to be hard as well.
Double betrayal.
Yeah. So she just turns to Xander and tells him to stay away from her.
Yeah.
And Xander just gets up and leaves, and then she starts to cry. It's, like, so sad.
It is really sad. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah, she's, like, really destroyed by what he did.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. So we go to the mansion, and Buffy shows up to see Angel and says that, she's not going to come back anymore. He's healthy enough to take care of himself now. And she's not going to come back. And she knows, like,
they're not friends, and they never were.
Yeah, and she's like, I can fool everyone, but I can't fool myself or Spike for some reason. Yeah, like, Spike calls it like he sees it, and he knows that that's not going to happen between those two of them. And he says, like, I don't accept it. Like, I think so somehow we can be in each other's lives. And she's like, there is. Tell me you don't love me. And he doesn't respond. So obviously he does. And she's like, the only way we can, like, be in each other's lives is if we don't love each other. And that's not the case.
So, yeah. And
she's like, okay, there's your answer. And she just, like, walks away. She leaves.
And then the rest of the episode is just sad. It's
sad montage.
Oh, God. We got Willow holding her little witch dispenser. Oz playing his guitar. And then, Willow's at the library?
Xander with the books. Yeah, you're like, why would Xander be at the library? But yeah, right. He's fiddling around with some books at the library. Cordelia's still, like, crying in her bed.
Yeah. And even Buffy's just, like, outside, and this is the best thing she could do. This is what she has to do, but that sucks.
Yeah, she's just kind of, like, listlessly, like, it's like slow-mo, and she just, like, spaced out thinking about it all. Yeah, and that's how it ends, because it's so sad. Everybody's so sad. But we see Spike leaving town.
Spike's happy.
Happy again. He is singing Sid Vicious's cover of My Way, and he is gonna fix his life.
Good for Spike.
He is going, he done being mopey. He is gonna fix things now. Yeah, and so he rolls out of town.
Great.
Yeah, so will he come back? I don't know.
I'm assuming yes.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think he's gonna come back.
Yeah, I hope so. So, my favorite quote of Lover's Walk was when Spike says, this is like a famous Spike speech. Love isn't brains, children, it's blood. Blood screaming inside of you to work its will. I may be love's bitch, but at least I'm mad enough to admit it.
That was a really good quote.
Yeah. And then my favorite scene was the Angel, Joyce, and Spike in the kitchen. That whole thing where like he's like asking for the marshmallows. Joyce is like, me and Buffy's father, we thought that we were gonna be together. And Spike is just like so upset. And then Angel showing up and Spike behind Joyce's back making faces and everything. So funny. It was great. So great.
That's also my favorite scene actually. And then my favorite line in there when she tells the Angel to get out of this house or I'll stake you myself. I thought that was really funny.
My runner-up was the you need to be at college with frat frat parties and like college whatever frat boys and keggers or something. Not here with Hellmouths and vampires. And Buffy says, "I don't see the distinction." I loved that. That was great. That was a great line. I mean, preferably neither, but
I just thought it was a weird thing to want for your kid.
Yeah, I guess just the normal college experience that most kids go through. Or get the opportunity to go through. Okay, yeah. So my stake rating was a 4.9. Okay. Of course, Spike's back. Fave character. Happy to see him back and his craziness. We see that there are some repercussions from this, not for everybody, like from the season 2 finale. So there was repercussions for Spike for making the truce with Buffy because it ended his relationship with Drusilla. Mm-hmm. It was really funny episode, hilarious. Oh, and like the Spike, like with the having of the people, like not down with that. Hated that part. Not
that was gross.
Not liking it, obviously. Yeah. The Willow and Xander finally getting caught, and the repercussions of that are not good, like life-threatening, possibly. Mm-hmm. I said everyone was sad but Joyce.
Oh, that's true.
Joyce had like the best day of her life. Like she was great. I mean, at the end, I think she was like, "Well, this took a turn." Like Angel's back, and like my kids' friends are witches or something. Like I don't know what's happening, but yeah, she is happy at the moment because possibly her daughter is going to get out of this and like get out of her duty and everything, like get to college. She's happy about it. Yeah. And then it was very future focused. Like Buffy and Angel realize they can't have a future even in each other's lives. Like there's a lot of repercussions to come. Like Willow and Oz and Xander and Cordelia are on the fritz. There's just a lot of like possible endings, a lot of things trying to be tied up here.
Yeah.
So it's very much an open-ended episode, like with a lot of like stuff to develop one way or another. We don't really get all the, you know what I mean? Like everybody's relationships are kind of like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Who knows what's going to happen? Yeah. So, yeah, it's just a good Spike episode, but he is evil and he is evil in this episode.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't like Spike in this episode. I thought he sucked. I didn't like his alcoholism, his moodiness, his like, I feel like when he was in love with Drew, he was a little softer and I kind of liked that side of him better. And seeing him like this was just, and I didn't care for it. Mm-hmm. But he is a vampire and I guess, so a lot of the things you already said, I think that's, I like seeing Willow getting more into the magic stuff. I find it interesting. I'm kind of curious to see where that goes.
Yeah.
Wasn't a huge fan of her going to be doing a spell on Xander without telling him.
That's true.
I thought that was really not cool, actually. Other than that, that whole scene with Spike and Joyce was really funny. I really liked that part. And my runner-up favorite line was actually like, something about, so Spike mentions about Willow being a little witch, and then Joyce is like, Willow's a witch? And then, Xander's a witch too?
Yeah. He's like, I've got the witch. And he's like, Willow's a witch? And the boy too. Xander's a witch? Like, trying to, like, figure all this out. So, yeah, it was...
Yeah. But yeah, and then just like, the end of the episode was just really sad with, like you said, all the repercussions of everything that everybody did. And it's just like, ugh. I do like the future focus of the episode. I am kind of curious to see where they go with that. I'm wondering like if Buffy's actually going to get out of Sunnydale and go to like an out of town college. Yeah, what's she going to do? We didn't see Faith in this episode. True. So we're seeing less of her, I feel like. Yeah.
Barely saw Giles.
We did, but yeah. Oh yeah, that was the other thing I wanted to mention, how I just thought it was ultra cool of him to be kind about like, oh, are you going to see Angel, and not really like be judgmental or...
Because he had every right to be like...
Every right. Yeah. He
nasty about it.
A hall pass, so... All
right, so that is Lover's Walk. Very consequential episode, so we'll see what happens.
Oh yeah, and my stake rating was 4.8.
Oh, right. Okay, so we were in the ballpark.
Yep.
We were in the ballpark. So, for the next episode, your question. The episode is called The Wish. Cordelia makes a wish. What is it?
Oh. I mean, part of me wants to feel like she could wish something like she wishes she never saw Xander and Willow kiss. But if... You know how sometimes Cordelia can be like really mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm wondering if she'll wish she never met Xander. So that's my guess.
Okay, that she never met Xander.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we will see what happens in The Wish. All right, so that wraps up Season 3, Episode 8, Lover's Walk. Again, you can find us on all major podcast apps and YouTube and Instagram at One Girl in All the World Pod. You can email us at onegirlpod@gmail.com. Thanks for joining us, and we'll be back next week with Season 3, Episode 9, The Wish. See you real soon.
Bye.